Hello, everyone. Stephen Peak here with Kentucky Sports Radio. Just got back from London where they lost my luggage, so don't have any of my tripods, but was recording at 11 personnel today with Nick Roush and Adam Luckett when we got breaking news that Will Levis would not be playing in the Music City Bowl versus Iowa. So here is Nick Roush and Adam Luckett rapidly reacting to that news.
After much thought, decided to forego my final college football game, look to that next step, declare for the 2023 NFL Draft. My teammates, UK staff members, Wildcat community, BBN, cannot thank you enough. I'll forever be indebted for all those who had the pleasure to cross paths with me here. My immense love for you all remains strong in my heart forever. Love that he's got the Governor's Cup trophy over his head for that graphic. Good reminder. Good reminder. But this is not unexpected, Adam Luckett. Not unexpected whatsoever. We've been planning all along for Will Levis to ultimately skip out on the upcoming Music City Bowl, especially when it became announced the Music City Bowl versus Iowa. Not a whole lot of reason to play. And the thing too, the coaches and everybody can always sell it as he needed to get healthy. He needs time to get healthy. So it's less of an opt out, or he's just banged up. He's got to have this and that and blah 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 blah. So I think it's a smart move. Some people aren't going to like it, but there's no reason for him to play in this bowl game against this Iowa football team.
My first thought here is feels like they've been sitting on this. You don't want to make a decision right after the year, but he's had this probably ready to go since, I would think, let's just say Sunday. I think they wanted to announce the OC before this and then just sneak this in after. I'm wondering if maybe that's a sign that this search is going to go more than a few days after this.
You're thinking it's going to be longer?
Yeah.
Than we expected?
Yeah. Well, typically you want to have a search done in a week, Nick. That's typically how they work. This is going 8 days, and we know who the number one candidate is. And there's obviously there's some hand-wringing there about how that's going to happen. So that's just my first thought. I'm not saying that's true, or I'm not saying I even know anything. It's just that's the first thing that popped in my head, because I thought they wanted to do OC first and then sneak this in behind it. That would have been my thought on how to do it. What about you? You think that makes sense?
No, that makes sense to me. Part of me is thinking that. Part of me thinks that it's somewhat coincidental. Like, I think he was always going to wait until after they found out who the bowl game was, just to make it look like he was considering.
Okay.
Playing.
Yeah, that makes. I guess so. I can see.
You want to have you want to have it to where it looks like he was actively considering it, but he never was going to be playing in this game. So I think it had this timeline always feels right. And even part of me, some of me is like, we're not going to let Louisville steal all of the news cycle. Levis, go ahead and pop, right? So yeah. I don't think it's as tied to the offensive coordinator search, but I do like that that's where your brain went. Even though,
let's just like, what is Will's legacy here? Like, what will we? I guess a lot of it's going to be what he does in the NFL to me. You go ahead.
So for me, it's the game-winning drive against Iowa and absolutely obliterating Louisville. But
it's hard to, and it's not all his fault. But we had hype out the wazoo. And he was the number one player on an offense that could barely score 21 points per game. And so for me, like, how much did he underachieve maybe? Or how much was it just terrible around him?
Right.
And I think what only is going to establish that, like, when it's just not fair, is what he does, like, these next couple years in the pros.
Well, and it's also what Kentucky does the next couple of years, because part of the reason why Will is a big deal is because he was successful right out of the gate from the transfer portal. And you said, okay, now Kentucky has turned over the page. They can have an established passing game, right? They can be proficient in the passing game. And he kind of broke these narratives that you can't be as successful in the passing game at the University of Kentucky. That only works if this next
or
hire
he
works.
didn't, because he came here and still couldn't. They still couldn't break through on offense. His second year in the quote unquote system. I mean, it was different. You changed coordinators, but all I'm saying is like I just have not hard time. He had a productive career here, and he did a lot of good. But I do think we need to talk about how if he is a top 15 pick, how in the hell was it this bad this year? You know?
Well, in Rich Scangarello will become the fall guy.
Yeah, I guess so. Right.
But I do wonder because ahead of this year, we were ranking the top 10 players of the Stoops era. And a lot of folks, myself included, thought, well, if he has a good year, he's definitely going to be on this list. But you can't put him there after just 1 year. And I don't think you can after 2 years. He finishes his career ranked 6th on UK's all-time passing list. He was rough math here, 17-8 as a starter. Is that right? 17-7. Take out the South Carolina game because he did not play in that one. So a better record than most. But ultimately, I think his legacy will be determined by if Kentucky can still have some offensive success afterwards, because he played a significant role in getting Barry Brown Dane Key here. Like that. Those guys aren't coming here
by kind of association, right?
Right. Yeah. So, if this next guy, if it turns out that this was just Rich was that bad, it was a 1-year blip, then we will really think fondly of Will Levis. But if not, then he'll kind of. I don't want to think Mike Hartline because Will is obviously didn't bring baggage with him like Hartline did, but he won't be revered in this. Like he would be probably a notch below Woodson, Lorenzen, Couch.
I agree.
Right, he would be like in that kind of Steven Johnson territory.
I agree. This year was just. I mean, it was just disappointing, right? And it's not all his fault, but. We were the offense just came woefully short of expectations.
But here's the other thing too. All those quarterbacks that I mentioned that would be, a tier ahead of him, none of those won as many games as Will did. So that's where it's kind of a little
they didn't I wouldn't say they didn't play on a team this good, but this offense was just so bad.
It also, just from a less critical standpoint, it has been nice just to have a quarterback that's like good enough that we can be this harsh of a critic about. You know what I mean?
I'm very interested their draft season we're about to get into. Like, is it just going to be 2 months of crapping on Kentucky? Is Stoops going to catch flack for this, or is just Rich Scangarello just going to have to eat everything? Or are they going to say, it was an NFL system and the other players around him sucked? Is the offensive line just going to get destroyed with people talking about this offense online? I just don't know what real direction it's going to go here with Levis, because if he's a top 15 pick like the projections say, or what kind of is right now, or even first round, there's going to have to be defending going on to take him, because this last year, if you just pull up numbers, it just why are they
not good? Yeah.
Yeah. Why is it? Why are they this bad? Why could he? Why could he only? Part of being an NFL quarterback is leading your team right and creating stuff and making stuff happen. If you want to be a franchise quarterback, why could he not go create scoring drives for his offense? Like what all went on there? just something to point out, I guess.
Yeah.
But we're gonna get deep into that over these next few months.
Right.
But it's just with the whole season, it feels just like Kentucky just left so much meat on the bone.
So much.
Because if they have a top 40 offense, they're playing in at least the Tampa this weekend. Probably maybe even the Citrus again.
Mm-hmm.
They got into their top 25 finish. But they didn't. They had one of their worst offenses they ever had. So with an NFL quarterback. That's why it makes this season was so weird to me.
It was a bizarre season. It was not what we expected. The injury certainly hurt him. I think the offensive line is really going to take a lot of the blame for this. But the thing is, too, though, I saw something about Tepper at Carolina liking Levis, the owner, and if that he's going to get hit a lot at Carolina too, So that's where.
Well, I think it's going to be attractive that he did take a lot of hits this year. He only missed one game in 2 years at Kentucky. That's however many games people are going
to. He got sacked a lot in 21 as well.
Yeah, he ran the ball a lot, so he's shown some durability from that aspect. So yeah, and he's got all these physical traits that people are going to like. So it's hard for me to not see him going in the first round. And so somebody's going to take him, and Kentucky's offense because he's going to be one of the most popular guys in the draft space going into this year because of the tools and because of all that, and especially if he has like a good Senior Bowl. But that's just going to open up for Kentucky to just get over dissected. You know what I'm saying? Here,
yeah,
people are going to really be picking at them
about
their offense and their structure and this or that. And so I'm just interested to see how that plays out and how they kind of battle against that, because they are going to get really, I think, poked and prodded through this process. Like, how was it? How are you not better with maybe a talent like that at quarterback?
Can I also add too that there's one other take that folks are going to have that I don't think you will, but my good Kentucky roll call partner, he's already had that opting out of bowl games is chicken shit, for the lack of a better word. Well, it's your team, you got to be there for your team. Kentucky's done a great job of having a culture that doesn't opt out of bowl games, thanks to Josh Allen. But here's the thing. Every situation's different. I think it's positionally based particular, but also this game, right? Most notably for me is this position. It's playing quarterback and getting beat up a lot. There's a lot more risk than being in the trenches. There just is. When you're kind of a sitting duck back there in the pocket, not to say that would not be his fault, but I'm never going to blame a guy in his situation to opt out in this scenario. Now, if you're if Benny would have opted out with a record on the line, then that would have been kind of weak sauce, right? Third round draft pick at best, opts out of a bowl game. But being a potential first, second guy off the board, you've been injured all year long. I'm not going to ever think that take a shot at him for skipping out on the Music City Bowl against Iowa.
Well,
I'm just not.
You also got your coach. You fired your offensive coordinator. And they won't say who's going to call plays, and they got some weird think tank going on.
Yeah,
and they're going to play the number one defense in college football, a defense you struggled to block last year with a much better offensive line.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's 4 times in that game, I believe.
These guys opting out suck. It does suck. It sucks. It's not good for the sport. It does suck. But
yes.
Until they figure out a pay structure for these players, until they make them employees, I just don't know how you fix it. I think the bowl games could try to pay these guys to play, but at the end of the day, the NFL is just a much stronger sell. That's what they're trying to get to. They're not trying to get to college football. They're trying to get to the NFL. And so I just don't know how you fix that. I think you could make the case that Levis should play in this game because he left a lot on the table. It'd be another tape against a good defense, a defense he's played well against before, come out and put something together. But, I get it. Kentucky's already moving on to next season. Iowa's already moving on to next season.
Yeah, this next few weeks is basically all next season prep, and then they're going to come back from recruiting and then say, all right, well, we got a football game. Let's get ready for it. And I think
we've already heard Mark Stoops specifically mention it might be hard to get them motivated if we play too early.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting that he used that word. And I thought, well, it's probably going to be hard for them to get them motivated at the end of the year too. Quarterback is opting out. You've got You don't know who your offensive coordinator is. You're playing the same team again. The fan base is going to be split because you got multiple stuff going on New Year's Eve.
Mm-hmm.
And so I am not expecting much from this bowl game. It is very much a throwaway a game.